Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank His Holiness Pope Francis and all the organizers of this important international summit on human trafficking. I'm greatly honored to be here today. Before I start, I would like to share with you a brief educational awareness video on human trafficking. It's a short video, and
it's definitely happening in San Diego County. Sadly, we were first really alerted to this in 2003 when the FBI issued their report that put San Diego as one of the top 13 cities for child prostitution.
Certainly the scale of what's happening here is surprising. At an $810 million a year industry, it's the second largest underground economy next to drugs, which is considerably larger, and just above the illegal trade in guns.
Now we know that children usually don't drive, they don't own money, they can't rent their own hotels and motels, and they can't post ads that advertise them for sex. That immediately told us that there is organized trafficking activity in San Diego County. And that's when we all started as law enforcement to look closely to see what is going on, because this crime thrives by being hidden, basically hiding in plain view.
The very visible public exploitation, sexual exploitation is going on, has morphed into indoors because of the online trafficking that is occurring. So we've learned about mobile brothels, sex being sold in middle-class neighborhoods, in purchased or rented homes, in gated communities, and in our hotel industry in San Diego. As we learned from the arrests in East County back in late 2014 that over 100 victims that were found in a 2-year investigation were being recruited in area middle and high schools. And our research confirms that that kind of recruitment is indeed happening all over the county.
We are seeing this in every community. So it is no longer, like I say, there is no family that's truly immune from this.
thank you. We think public awareness is really important, and we're trying to educate the public about this. We know what human trafficking is. We've been talking about it all morning. It is modern slavery, and it is human rights violation. Human trafficking is a crime under international laws, also U.S. federal laws and state laws. In California, under the California law, the person is guilty of human trafficking if he or she recruits, transports, or delivers a person for sex or labor trafficking, and does this by coercion, force, or deception, and does this for the purpose of sex slavery or labor slavery. Two of the most severe forms of human trafficking are labor and sex. We also have organ trafficking now as the third form of trafficking that is getting momentum. These are the statistics in California. In San Diego, San Diego is now ranked as one of the top 8 cities. In the video you heard 13, but we have moved up to number 8 in the United States in sexual exploitation of children. This is an $810 million industry, and second only to drug trafficking. In San Diego, we have approximately between 8,000 and 11,000 victims of sex trafficking each year. We have not had too many arrests in San Diego, mainly because victims are afraid to come forward. In January 2017, we had 38 arrests. December 2014, 22 gang members were indicted. January 2014, 24 were indicted, and 7 minors were identified and rescued. And in April 2011, 30 girls were rescued. In January of 2017, the Los Angeles County and San Diego County got together. They had a sweep called Operation Reclaim and Rebuild. This was the 3rd year that we did this in San Diego, and it was very successful. The prosecutors put fake ads on internet and offered sex for money, and when people showed up to buy sex, they were arrested. The goal is to disrupt the demand. So they're going not only after the organized crimes, but also the customers. Unfortunately, human trafficking is increasing in San Diego because it runs on a renewable funding source. It has low risk and high yield. It is lucrative because they can sell the girls multiple times, and there is an endless pool of victims, and it's easy to recruit the girls and boys over the internet. The traffickers use the internet, and one of the backpage.com is one source, and they put ads and for prostitution on this website. And also, they use social media to recruit the girls and boys. And they usually pose as a romantic partner for the girls and become their boyfriends. And then after a while, they start beating them and putting them to work. So some of the best practices in San Diego, we believe that education is very important. We educate our communities on human trafficking. We teach them about human trafficking laws. We teach them how to identify the trafficking victims and teach them how to deal with trafficking victims and how to help the victims, where to direct them. The picture says, this is a picture of the community group going out there with loudspeakers into their communities with signs that reads, "Humans are not for sale. Stolen people, stolen dreams." Now, it is very difficult to deal with the victims. It's a very long process to create a safe environment, build trust, and break the cycle of sex trafficking with the victims. It is extremely difficult for victims to come forward because most of them do not consider themselves to be victims. And some victims do not think there is a way out, so they're afraid to come forward. Our goal is to bring them from being victim to being survivors by teaching them how to get treatment and live a productive life. We educate the community on how we can identify the victims. The picture here says this, it's an ad that we have in the community. It says, "Look beneath the surface. Victims of human trafficking may look like many of the other people you see every day. Report human trafficking." Most victims are runaways or homeless children. They often have signs of physical or psychological abuse. They are often accompanied by someone who seems to be controlling them or abusing them. They ask for permission to eat, sleep, or go to bathroom. They do not know where they are geographically, and their stories do not add up. They have signs of trauma, fatigue, injury, poor health. They are withdrawn, afraid to talk, are censored if they talk. They have no freedom of movement. They work and live in the same place. They owe a debt to the employer, and they don't have access to their identification documents or passports, and they're not allowed to contact anyone, or they're controlled. So these are the signs that we teach the public so that they can recognize victims. Victims are often branded and by the criminals. This picture says, "You pay me." And the other one says, "I," name, we have blocked the name. It says, "Am the property of Shaft," which is the name of the criminal. "All those who come in contact with me are in debt to him." As of January of this year, we created new laws, we legislated new laws in California. The laws are dealing, we decriminalize the child prostitution in the sense of for the children, for the minors. So if they are charged with prostitution, they're basically no longer arrested or charged for that crime. And instead, we provide treatment for them. We do not want to victimize them again by charging them with a crime and putting them in prison. And the new laws also create a path to vacate their past convictions. We have created specialty courts in San Diego for the first time in October of this year. It's called RISE. RISE stands for Resilience, Strength, and Empowerment. The purpose of this is to better address the needs of these minor children. RISE Court is a collaborative court. It's modeled after drug courts with the judges, prosecutors, public defenders, probation, and child welfare services all coming together in one room in how to address and help a specific juvenile by designing a treatment program that fits the history of that child victim. The juvenile has to show up in court once a week and report on the treatment programs the child has attended. Once the child graduates and completes the program, the charges against that child are dropped and all criminal history is expunged. This is a trauma-based court that uses multidisciplinary approach to address the needs of the specific child individually. The minor is given several chances to succeed, and ultimately, if the minor does not cooperate, the minor will be charged and serve time. Additional resources, we basically have a court clergy conference. Anyways, so we go to prisons also to educate the women on human trafficking. A lot of them are victims. Thank you very much.